Good morning, class. As you watch this, it will be Monday, the 23rd. I apologize. I am out today. Livingston Parish has their in service day, so my kids are home and I don't have anybody else to watch them. So I will be here all day. If you need anything or any questions or anything like that, again, look for my remind. It's over there on the wall next to that poster for the debate club. So make sure you use that and shoot me a reminder and let me know anything you may have any questions or comments on. I'll be here all day, so feel free to get in touch with me. Okay, so you're going to have a bell ringer, obviously. This video is a great instruction for it. But also you're going to have in there a DBQ slash photo assignment where you're going to look at photos and you're going to hashtag them. We'll go over all that today, all that in this video. So let's start with your activity. Of course, your activity is going to be this one. It's going to be right here. Okay, how the other half lives. And it's going to be a document based on a photojournalist. And I'm going to go through that with you. So if you're following along, I'm going to read it all over. I'm going to break it all down for you. So let's get going. So it says, pioneering social reformer Jacob Riis revealed how the other half lives in America. Okay, and so if you look down at the little questions that are highlighted, obviously the first one, it says, who wrote this? Well, the article is written by a guy named Jimmy Stamp. Okay, so if you look at it, you should be able to see Jimmy Stamp. See right there, Jimmy Stamp. You also see where it says, when was it written? Of course, it was written May 27th, 2014. Where is he from? So let's look at the first paragraph and see where he's from. So in 1870, when Jacob August Riis immigrated to America from Denmark on the steamship Iowa, he rode on the steering with nothing but his clothes on his back and 40 borrowed dollars in his pocket and a locket containing a single hair from the girl he had loved. It must have been hard for the 21-year-old Riis to imagine that just a few short years he would be palling around with future presidents and become a pioneer in photojournalism and help from housing policy in New York City. Okay, so where is he from? Okay, if you look, it says he immigrated here from Denmark. What is his profession? He is a photojournalist. So this is somebody who is a journalist, but he does so through photography. Second paragraph. Jacob Riis, who died just over 100 years ago, struggled through his first few years in the United States, unable to find a steady job. He worked as a farmhand, iron worker, bricklayer, carpenter, and salesman, experienced the worst aspects of American urbanism, crime, sickness, squalor, and the low-rent tenements and lodging housing that would eventually inspire the young Danish immigrant to dedicate himself to improving living conditions in the city's lower classes. Okay, so this is a guy that came over here from Denmark with really nothing, right? $40. He didn't even come over for $40. It was $40 that had been loaned to him. So extremely, extremely poor individual. Really has nothing to his name. Now, a couple things of note. It should be of note that he was able to come here with just $40. That is a stark contrast to somebody who has just gone through the process. If you don't have $10,000, don't even bother. And that was with me having to act as my own immigration lawyer. Extremely, extremely expensive. So, one of those people that, or when you hear people say that, well, immigrants should come here the right way, just keep in mind that the right way in this era basically just meant you didn't trip falling off the boat. I mean, it was that easy to come over here. And of course, he comes over here penniless. So let's see what happens to him. So it says, what kind of jobs did he work when he came to the U.S.? And of course, you can see it lists all the petty jobs he had: farmhand, iron worker, bricklayer, carpenter, so on and so forth. Okay, third paragraph. Through a bit of luck and a lot of hard work, he got a job as a journalist and a platform for exposing the plight of the lower class community. Eventually, Riis became a police reporter for the New York Tribune, covering some of the city's most crime-ridden districts, a job that would lead to fame and friendship with the police commissioner, Theodore Roosevelt. Of course, we know that's going to end up being the president. So here's a guy, he comes over here, he winds up as a photojournalist, as a reporter, and it's his job to follow around this police department, and the police's commissioner is Theodore Roosevelt. So he's going to be somebody he's going to have a lot of contacts with. So Theodore Roosevelt calls Reese the best American I ever knew. Reese knew what it was to suffer, to starve, and to be homeless. And though his purpose was sometimes sensationalist and even occasionally prejudiced, he had what Roosevelt called the great gift of making others see what he saw and feel what he felt. Okay, so what newspaper did he work for? Of course, he works for the New York Tribune. Who was the police commissioner he worked with? Of course, that would be future President Teddy Roosevelt. He's just police commissioner at the time. And what did Roosevelt say about Reese? He said he had the great gift of making others see what he saw and feel what he felt. Right? And of course, that's the goal of any journalist, is to make others empathize and see things from your point of view. Right? But Reese wanted to literally show the world what he saw. So to help his readers truly understand the dehumanizing dangers of the immigrant neighborhoods he knew all too well, Reese taught himself photography and began taking a camera with him on his nightly rounds. The recent invention of flash photography made it possible for him to document the dark, overcrowded tenements and grim saloons and dangerous slums. Reese pioneered use of flash photography, brought to light even the darkest parts of the city. Used in articles, books, and lectures, his striking compositions became powerful tools for social reform. So what invention changed his profession? Well, the camera. He had photography. It says Reese's 1890s treatise of social criticism, How the Other Half Lives, was written in the belief that every man's experience ought to be worth something to the community from which it drew. No matter what experience may be, so long as it gleaned along the lines of some decent, honest work. Full of unapologetic, harsh accounts of life in the worst slums of New York City, fascinating with the terrible statistics on tenement living and reproductions of his revolutionary photographs, How the Other Half Lives, was to shock many New Yorkers into an immediate success. Not only did it sell well, but it inspired Roosevelt to close the worst of the logging houses and spurred city officials to reform and enforce the city's housing policies. To once again quote the future President of the United States, the countless evils which lurk in the dark corners of our civic institutions, which stalk around the slums, have in their predominant abode in the crowded tenement houses, have met in Mr. Reese's most formidable opponent ever encountered to them by the New York City. So how do you feel about Reese's views of the values of every man's experience? And of course, this is going to be one of those where it's your own personal opinion. But how do you feel about that? Do you feel like everybody has value? And not just that everybody has value, but do you think everybody's experience gives them value? Even as I say that, my life growing up is a very different experience than yours. Different age, could be different ethnicity, could be different religion. There's a lot of things that would make my perspective unique. So is it a situation where you think everybody's experience is different and everybody's experience creates value for them in life? Now, what I want you to do after this is you're going to see a series of pictures, and I just want you to give them a hashtag. And I want you to take note of certain things like how are they dressed, what kind of living conditions are they living in, what does it look like they're doing, and I want you to see, because when we get back, I'm going to go through these pictures and we're going to kind of talk about them. But I want you to take close note of things like something like this picture right here. Okay, these kids right here. That's, if you can't tell, it's freezing cold. That's ice, and look at their feet. They're barefoot. Right? That's how poor they are. Okay? This lady right here, she's got her baby wrapped in what appears to be a mat, some kind of mat from the floor. Here you see just kind of cardboard houses, and everybody's living in cardboard houses. Here's a kid working in a factory. And look how young this kid is. You have more people, back alley. And here's a typical school. Kid working as a cigar maker. Kids working on a cotton mill. Make sure you look too. It kind of explains what's going on in these pictures and when it is. You know, look at this guy right here living in tenement housing. And this is what most people are living in, particularly immigrants. You know, little girl taking care of her little brother. Somebody out on the street begging. Okay, this is one that I really love. Look how many people are just sitting here in this house. I mean, they're all living in one house together. Okay, so make sure you do all that, and then at the very end, after you've done all that, I'm going to put in there a Race to the Pod, Climb the Mountain on Nearpod. So make sure you do that too to get full credit for today's lesson. So I look forward to seeing you on Wednesday, and take care.